Everyone warned me. My brother, my best friend, even my mom, in her own gentle, hint-dropping kind of way. They all said the same thing. Don't marry someone you don't fully trust. But I thought I was different. I thought love meant pushing through doubt, choosing to stay when it's easier to walk away. Turns out, sometimes walking away is the brave choice. And I learned that lesson the hard way, 3 weeks after putting a ring on the finger of the woman who'd already broken me once. Her name's Natalie. We met through mutual friends at a Halloween party, the kind where everyone pretends they're too old for costumes but still shows up in a half-assed outfit. She came as Lara Croft. I came as guy who works in IT, which wasn't really a costume since that's exactly what I do. She was loud, confident, one of those people who enters a room and instantly becomes its center. I was drawn in fast and deep. Within a month, we were inseparable. I'd never met someone who challenged me and comforted me in the same breath, but from the start, there were cracks. She had this flirty energy with everyone, waiters, friends, guys at bars. She called it harmless. I called it reckless, but every time I brought it up, she'd laugh and say, "You're too sensitive." I let it slide, over and over, because the highs were high, and I was hooked. 6 months into the relationship, I found out she cheated. It was a Thursday night. She said she was going to dinner with her coworker Becca, some marketing thing. I didn't think twice. I had a late shift at work and didn't even get home until after 10. I saw the Uber receipt by accident. I wasn't snooping. I was ordering food from her phone and saw the email notification. The destination wasn't a restaurant. It was a condo, not Becca's. I don't know what I was thinking, but I copied the address and looked it up, and my stomach dropped. It was her ex's place. I still remember the feeling, like something inside me was slipping loose. That cold, detached numbness right before the anger kicks in. I confronted her the next morning, calm, direct. I asked her where she really went. She lied, straight to my face. Dinner with Becca. I told her I saw the Uber receipt, gave her a long pause to come clean, and eventually she did, but not in a way that made it better. "Look," she said, "it was a stupid, impulsive thing. I was drunk, and we talked, and yeah, it happened, but it didn't mean anything." That's the line that stayed with me. It didn't mean anything, like that was supposed to make it easier to swallow. I wish I could say I walked out right then, that I had enough self-respect to cut ties and move on, but I didn't. I told her I needed space. Took a week, stayed at my brother's place, cried once, threw up twice, thought about every moment we'd shared and tried to reframe it through the lens of betrayal, but it was like trying to rewrite a movie in your head while watching it for the 10th time. I already knew the ending, and still, when I came back, I forgave her. I told myself people make mistakes, that love is messy, that we're all human, but deep down, I knew the truth. I was afraid of losing her, and that fear made me do the most reckless thing I've ever done in my life. 3 months later, I proposed. I told myself it was a fresh start, that if I committed fully, maybe she would too, that maybe love was enough. She said yes. She cried. I cried. Everyone smiled, except my brother. He just pulled me aside and said, "You sure about this, man?" I said, "Yeah." But I wasn't. Not even close. If I'm being honest, the engagement felt wrong from the start. Not because of the ring. She loved it, showed it off to everyone, took 100 photos for Instagram with captions like, "Forever starts now." It was the way she said yes. There was excitement in her voice, sure, but it wasn't soft. It wasn't emotional. It was performative, like she'd just landed a part she'd auditioned for 100 times. And deep down, I knew she wasn't crying because she was moved. She was crying because she'd won. Still, I kept pretending everything was fine. We started planning the wedding almost immediately. Her dream venue, her favorite band, her bridesmaids. Everything centered around her vision. My opinions were background noise. When I hesitated about costs or timing, she'd tilt her head and say, "Why are you being negative? Don't you want to marry me?" And I'd fold every time. Because after forgiving her once, I was scared of being the bad guy. The first time I realized I didn't trust her anymore was 2 weeks after the proposal. She went out for a girls' night, that same phrase that had triggered my stomach for months. I tried to be chill, but I couldn't stop checking the time. Midnight, 1 a.m., no text, no call. I told myself not to spiral, but when she finally came home at 2:30, laughing too loudly, smelling like tequila and men's cologne, I felt something inside me snap. I didn't yell. I just said, "Did you have fun?" She gave me that smirk, the one that used to make me melt but now made my skin crawl, and said, "Don't start." I asked what she meant. "You're doing it again," she said. "This controlling thing, watching the clock, making everything about trust." I said I was with friends. "I didn't say you weren't," I replied quietly. "I just asked if you had fun." She rolled her eyes. "God, you're exhausting sometimes." Then she went upstairs and left me standing in the kitchen alone, surrounded by silence and the faint smell of someone else's cologne. That was the moment I realized something harsh. When someone breaks your trust, you don't ever really get it back. You just learn how to act like you have, and that's what the next few weeks were, an act. I smiled when people congratulated us. I let her plan everything. I played the role of the devoted fiancé, even as something inside me hollowed out. Every time she looked at her phone, every time she laughed at a text, every time she said, "Don't worry about it," I wondered if it was happening again. And the worst part, I hated myself for still wanting to believe her. 3 weeks after I proposed, we went to dinner with some friends. One of them, ironically, her ex-coworker Becca, the same one she'd used as a cover story months ago. Becca was nice enough, but halfway through dinner, she excused herself to take a call, and I saw Natalie's whole face change. She looked pale, anxious, the kind of reaction you can't fake. I asked if she was okay. She said she was fine, too fast. Then her phone buzzed. She flipped it face down. That was it. Just a tiny moment, but it felt like a grenade. When we got home, I asked, "Who texted you?" She sighed like I'd just ruined her night. "Does it matter?" "Yeah," I said. "It does." God, you really don't know when to stop, do you? You think every time my phone goes off, it's someone else. I think when you hide your phone after lying to me before, it's fair to ask. Unbelievable. She threw her purse on the couch. "You keep dragging us backward. You say you forgave me, but clearly you didn't. Because you keep giving me reasons not to." That was the first time she slapped me. Not hard, not dramatic, just a sharp, impulsive hit that left a burning spot on my cheek and silence hanging between us. Her eyes widened. "Oh my God, I didn't mean to." I just stepped back. Something inside me went cold. Not fear, not even anger, just finality. I said nothing. I went upstairs, packed a bag, and left. The next morning, she called nonstop, text after text. "I'm sorry. You made me angry. You're overreacting. Please come home." But I didn't, because in that one moment, that one stupid, impulsive hit, everything clicked. I hadn't been staying because I loved her. I'd been staying because I was afraid to admit I'd built my life around the wrong person. I didn't go back. Not after a few hours. Not after a few days. Not after she begged. And she did beg, in every way you'd expect from someone who knew exactly how to manipulate guilt. First, it was the apologies. "I'm sorry. I snapped. I was scared I was losing you." Then came the blame shift. "You pushed me. You always push me. You get inside my head." Then the nostalgia. "We've been through so much, baby. Don't throw it away now." I didn't reply to any of them because I was finally seeing her clearly. Not the version I built in my head, not the woman I hoped she could be, but the woman she chose to be over and over again. And once you see someone for who they are, you can't unsee it. My brother let me crash at his place for a few weeks. I told him the truth this time. No spin, no softening. He just shook his head and said, "I love you, man. But you had to hit rock bottom with her, didn't you?" "Yeah," I said. "I really did." He never said, "I told you so." He didn't need to. It was written on every quiet pause between us. Natalie showed up at my job 2 weeks after I left. I was walking to my car in the parking garage when I saw her waiting by it, arms crossed, mascara smudged, wearing one of my old hoodies like it would trigger something sentimental. She said she just wanted to talk. I leaned against the car door and let her say what she needed to say. It was the same monologue I'd heard in texts, but now dressed in tears and desperation. She said she was scared, that she didn't know how to be vulnerable, that she lashed out because she felt cornered. She told me she missed me, that she still wanted to be my wife. That's when I stopped her. "Wife," I said. "You were never really ready to be one. You just wanted the title." She flinched, but she didn't argue, And then I asked something I hadn't planned to ask. Are you still talking to him? I didn't even need to say who. She hesitated. Too long. Then nodded. Right, I said. That's what I thought. That was the last time we spoke face to face. I called off the engagement the next day, emailed the vendors, canceled the venue, sold the ring. I didn't cry. I didn't feel empty. I just felt clean, like I'd been living under something heavy, and it was finally off me. She tried reaching out again a month later. New number, new tone. I'm in therapy now. I've been working on myself. You were right. I wasn't ready. But I want to be. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted revenge, but because sometimes not answering is the only way to finally answer someone who only ever listened when it benefited them. It's been a year now. I live in a different part of the city. Smaller apartment, quiet street. My life feels mine again. I go on walks in the evenings. I've started playing guitar again. I talk to my friends more. Really talk. I cook dinner for myself. I do the laundry when I feel like it. No eggshells, no tension, no emotional landmines. Sometimes people ask if I still believe in love, and here's what I tell them. I do. But I don't believe in saving someone anymore. I believe in building something with someone who meets you halfway, not someone who cheats, lies, gaslights, and then calls it love when they see you slipping away. Some breakups feel like a crash, loud, violent, sudden, but others, they feel like silence. Like sitting in a car after the engine's been shut off, realizing you've been driving on empty for miles. That's what leaving Natalie was. Not a break. A release. I'd love to say that after I ended things, my life bloomed into some perfect redemption arc. But that's not how real life works. Healing isn't cinematic. It's slow. It's lonely. It's learning how to stop romanticizing people who hurt you just because you loved them once. Some mornings, I still woke up expecting to see her next to me. Muscle memory, I guess. Other days, I caught myself wanting to text her something random, a meme, a joke, a moment I thought she'd find funny. But I didn't, because that version of me, the one who made excuses for red flags, who proposed out of fear, who accepted less than he deserved, he was gone. What really surprised me was how much guilt I carried, even after everything she did. I wasn't just mourning the relationship. I was mourning the version of myself that wanted it to work. It took me months to admit that the proposal wasn't about love. It was about fear, about control, about desperately trying to steer a sinking ship toward a future I thought I needed. Natalie wasn't the only one playing a role. I was too. I pretended to be the bigger person, pretended to forgive, pretended it didn't kill me when I looked at her and saw someone I couldn't trust anymore. But pretending doesn't protect you from the damage. It just delays the collapse. One day, while cleaning out an old drawer, I found the wedding vows I'd started writing. Just a few lines in my handwriting. I choose you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. And I trust that even when it's hard, we'll fight for each other. I stared at that word. Trust. Felt like a joke. I ripped the page in half and tossed it out. Not because I was bitter, because it wasn't true. I had written those words hoping they'd become true if I said them loud enough. They wouldn't have been vows. They would have been lies. A few months later, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years, Emma, a girl I used to work with back in college. We bumped into each other at a bookstore of all places. I was holding a paperback with a cracked spine. She had a coffee stain on her sleeve. It was real. We talked for an hour like no time had passed. No games, no masks. Just two people in a quiet corner of the world figuring themselves out. We've had a few lunches since then. Nothing serious, no pressure. And maybe that's the point. I'm not rushing to fill a gap anymore. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone, not even myself. I'm just living. Sometimes I wonder what Natalie tells people now, what version of the story she gives them. Maybe she says I abandoned her. Maybe she says I couldn't handle her past. Maybe she tells herself I was never really in it, but I was. Too much maybe, and that's exactly why I had to leave.